Getting into Korva El Nafshi, we did the first little part of the book. It's telling the story of life, which started with a rabbi that was sitting, Talmid Chacham, sitting in the attic, in the upper level of the Beit Midrash, in his own little world, going as deep as he wants in Torah, taking the Torah wherever he wants, enjoying his own world, no one bothering him, no responsibilities. And comes along the big rabbi, the big tzaddik, and tells him, listen, I need you to leave your comfort zone, and I need you to go into this village and teach these village boys Torah. And he has to start preparing a class, and he doesn't want to do it. He's not comfortable doing it. He feels like it's a waste of his time. He could be learning Torah on a very, very deep level, and now he's forced to make constrictions and charts and tables and ways to explain and come up with stories to try to give over such easy ideas for him to understand. He has to now break down a 20-minute talk into 6 classes to get them even understanding the fundamentals, to begin to understand the depth of what we're talking about. And he goes through a hard time to the point that while he's preparing the class, his friend, another Talmid Chacham, comes up to him and he covers up his paper. He doesn't want anybody to see what he's doing because he's embarrassed of these little charts and diagrams that he has to make for such an easy Torah idea. And by the time he's finished preparing that class, a sense of joy comes over him, inner peace. He feels like he's gotten much deeper understanding even himself on the Torah idea by way of preparing it and bringing it down to such simple terms. It's enriched his own understanding, his deep understanding, and now he senses this inner joy come over him. And that's where we left off. Before we continue, Rav Kluger wants us to contemplate a little bit on what happened up until now. Let's define very well what's happened inside the soul of the rabbi. In the first part that we just summarized of the story, we described how the light, from its side of its nature, doesn't need to give over to a vessel. The light is a light. Its flow, its spirituality, doesn't want to be limited. By side of its nature, what is it meant to do? Expand and continue to expand. It's light. It's continuously traveling, right? And that's in the physical, obviously even more so in the spiritual. Spirituality is expansion, it's love. It's no borders on the side of pure light. In order to give over to a vessel, the light has to take itself through constriction after constriction after constriction after constriction. And it causes pain. This is isurim. It's a hardship on the soul, on the light. It doesn't happen easily. Because you have to, so to say, the light has to, so to say, take its essence and send it to another place in order to bring to the world a progression of a brand new meaning, a brand new essence into the world. And that is the way of creation. That is the order of how Hashem created the world. If you know anything about Kabbalah a little bit, it all starts, every Kabbalistic book starts with, in the beginning, Hashem wanted to create the world. He took his great, huge will, his light, right, and constricted 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 that light in order for what? To give over an infinite light in a finite world on a level that we will all be able to tolerate it, use it, connect with it, feel it, have a relationship with it. Because if it was too powerful, it was the original light, we would have no chance but to be nullified back into the source where we came from. We wouldn't have room to exist. So all of these concealments, all of these constrictions are tools.
What was created first, the light or us?
What was created first?
The light or us?
We rose first in thought, but the first creation was the light, and then the world, and then we were only on the sixth day. Right? Man was on the sixth day after many, many things were created, but it's the purpose of creation.
We were first?
In thought, Am Yisrael was the first thought. Allah b'machshavat chila. Am Yisrael came in thought first. Torah also before the world. And then there was creation of so to say, this concealment of the light in order for there to be a revelation of the light. Right? So that's the way the world is. So a person could understand this by way of the connection of getting up in the morning, waking up in the morning. That's a very sharp transition. The neshama, the soul, has to come down from a very, very, very high, lofty spiritual place back into the body. And so to say, it's like being born again.
Hallelujah.
The matzavim v'tafkidim, right? To new situations, to new obligations that are waiting for you in that day that's coming up upon you. In the time of sleep, when the body is quiet and the soul is floating up above in more purified and more rectified, more fine realms, then everything was good, right? The soul is chilling. It's back in its place. It's by itself. It's not attached to a body. It's doing great.
Well, I mean to say, it becomes my question. Like, if we were created first, then there is also.
We weren't.
What?
We weren't.
You said we were in the Mashpia. Does that mean we were not?
That's not a creation.
We were not created. What does it mean to be in the Mashpia?
That means that the purpose for creation is what I thought about first. Meaning the purpose of creation, the purpose of everything in this, no, we didn't exist first.
The light existed first? Meaning God, is the light essentially the same thing as saying God?
No, the light is also a creation.
Okay, so the light was created.
God exists. God was never created.
My question goes into the relationship of the light to us.
That's what we're learning about.
There's a certain amount, right, you're saying, that would be overwhelming, and there's a certain amount that, can be handled. So, anyway, I'm trying to get some logic in this.
Try to throw your logic.
If you were created first, and if you were created with a definition of how much light you could handle.
Correct. Creation's exactly. That's exactly what creation is. Creation means infinite light in a way that the creation could handle it. That's what it always means.
That's the purpose.
Infinite light, well, that's, first of all, that probably doesn't exist in any case.
Why not?
Let's try to stay in right now. We're gonna talk afterwards, okay? Moshe? We're gonna talk afterwards just because we have a whole thing going on. It's their first time here, but we have time to talk afterwards. We're gonna go into this.
I'm not gonna stay afterwards, but
okay. So then we have to continue. Since right, so when the soul is up in this lofty place, it feels great and it's doing its own thing. Since now the body has to wake up, right? It has to come now and reunify with the body. And that's very hard for the soul to do. It goes through Yisurim, it goes through hardship just to come back from its source into its job, right? Waking up in the morning is enough of a tzimtzum, of a constriction for us to understand what the creation of the world was, what it was to take infinite light and to bring it down into a vessel, aka a world, a place to hold and contain that light. Has to go through many, many, many constrictions, like our soul, which at nighttime goes up back to its source, and in the morning has to come back into the body. It's a hard process. It's a sharp, fine, definitive process where two different worlds are being experienced by the same neshama, by the same light. It has to, so to say, send off, detach from its essence, which is completely pure spirituality, clean from all physicality, and to become now melamedet lo'il lemishkanah gufani, to become now a teacher, to benefit the place it rests in, which is the body, the flesh and blood. At that moment, when the rabbi went from the hardship of giving birth to the class, and he wasn't ready to do that yet, that's, so to say, the term, terem ishlim im kli shelo. He still hasn't been made peace with his vessel, right? He has to make this class. He knows he has to do it. He recognizes there's a vessel, but he's not at peace with it. Me as a giver, I'm not willing to give over right now. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it against my will, but I'm not okay with it. I'm not at peace with my kli. In this case, his kli are the students. Right? He's the light, and the students, he's the influencer. The light is the class, and the students are who need to receive it. And he's not at peace with them. So right now in his heart, he has this anger that he even has to give over light to them, that he even has to illuminate the vessel. So you see that the light that's inside of him is still lacking a vessel. And this is the reason that he's embarrassed of others. He was embarrassed for his friend to come up and see what's going on. Right? He's embarrassed for him to see, and he feels he feels uncomfortable around other people looking at what he's trying to do in a way that he's connecting to a vessel, because he doesn't even want to connect to the vessel. So any process of connecting to the vessel is embarrassing because he's not at peace with it. He knows he has to do it, but he doesn't feel comfortable sharing that process. It's embarrassing. I'm light. How could I go down to a vessel? It's not my natural place. I have to constrict myself. I have to lower myself. I have to limit myself. I have to go from being a Talmid Chacham that can hold the deepest conversations with my eyes to using 30, 40 words to say what I can say with a look. It's on that level sometimes for them, right? Just body movements can give over a whole entire lesson. Now go and explain that in Torah, in a class. It takes a while. Since he's not complete and he doesn't have inner peace, so now he lacks peace between himself and those around him. Because the inner aspect is hidden inside, that's hidden inside, is revealed by way of what's happening around him. If there's no peace between his light and his vessel, so then that is expressed by way of the vessel being rejected and pushed away. And that happens on the face of everyone around us. And that now is a tool for a person, a very, very broad and wide tool to reveal much more. Anything that happens around you. Meaning if you don't have inner peace, so you're going to see, like we said last time, if a person doesn't have peace, if a person doesn't have inner peace on their side between the giving and the receiving, right? He doesn't feel like he wants to give, so then the people that are meant to give to him are going to not, in his life, he's going to see that they're not willing to give to him. Yeah. And if he doesn't have peace in the fact that he has to receive, so then the people that need to receive from him aren't going to want to receive from him. Right? His children won't come visit him, or things like all these different, right? I mean, obviously in an unhealthy situation, right? But like, there's a problem here. Why are the people that are meant to receive from me not wanting to receive from me? Because the side in myself that needs to receive is also not willing to receive. So that it comes out around us. But in the last part of the letter Aleph, in the last part of the first part that we did last class, we saw that after the light started to come down to the vessel, after he started to agree to make the class, and he invested in time in doing that, in sending that light to the vessel, so then the vessel became a very blessed tool of revelation, right? It started to make him happy. The vessel itself, now that he gave it light, meaning prepared the class for them, he hasn't even given it to them, but he was willing to take the light through a process of constriction and bringing it down. That gave birth in his midst to new understandings of a new inner joy that he didn't have until then. Why? Because he made peace between himself internally and to the light that he has to give to. Because he agreed and he was okay and accepted the existence of the vessel. Now there's resting peace here between him and his friend. Because when he was ready to make inner peace, then he was even willing to invite the friend to partake in the class, right? And he even thought that he would even get something out of taking part in the class. Before, I don't even want you to see what I'm writing. Now I would love for you to come and sit with all these 14-year-olds. And I even think you'll get something out of it. Why did he get to that place? Because he accepted the relationship inwardly of I am light and I need to give over to a vessel. Second, I accept the vessel and I acknowledge the vessel and I admit that there is a vessel and I start to give towards the vessel. So then there's peace all around me too.
Thank you.
Shemishmecha, brother. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. So where was all the objection? Where was all of the resistance? Inwardly. It was inside. And the second that he made peace, everything disappeared. All of a sudden we're together. All of a sudden I want you to take part in my class. Come look at my pages. Look how amazing this tzimtzum is. Look how amazing I constricted this light. You know how deep this light is. Look what I managed to do with it. I made charts and everything explained it so well for a person that's much younger than us. It's pretty cool, right? Helps you even to understand it more on our level. Why? Because there was inner peace. He agreed to give over to the vessel. Now the time to give the class has come. But it didn't take much time for the rabbi to get annoyed because Reuven started to push his buttons. Reuven, obviously, classically, is just the name that we put on Reuven and Shimon, right? To not you, it's okay. Even though you showed up late today, we forgive you. Nothing. Right? So, one of the students, Reuven, started to push the buttons of the rabbi. What happened? All these things these wonderful things that the rabbi prepared started to come out from potential into actuality. The simchat lev kol mivin, for the happiness of all of those sitting in the class understanding. And then Reuven asked, what is the meaning of what we're talking about? What is the meaning of what you're saying? And now, the rabbi understands that he's making statements and giving over a class, and there's someone here that doesn't even understand the level that he's brought it down to. Awkwardness falls over the rabbi. He doesn't know what's going on. How hard did he work?
He could be very frustrated.
He didn't think, right?
Somebody he doesn't understand.
He already went through so much hard work to bring it down to here, and he didn't think that he would even have to explain such fundamental ideas. He didn't prepare any explanations. He didn't prepare any way to start to go that deep, because he didn't think he had to go there. He didn't think he had to bring it down that far. The introductions to the fundamental ideas, that's already, he didn't even cross his mind that he had to go deep into those places. He thought it was simple, that was already known. They would have already learned that in elementary school. And now that he knows, right, that it's not just Reuven, all of a sudden he also doesn't understand. Now that Reuven said something, now he can open his mouth and say, I also didn't get it. So now there's 2-3 people in the class that they're not with him. They're not there. And it's not possible now in the middle of a class that's already ready to the finest details to start to go into the introduction to try to explain things, right? It's impossible to understand the class without knowing them. So then, what does he do as the teacher? He's in the middle of a process. He prepared a whole entire flow. He's in the middle. He realizes that he's too deep, and no one can keep up with. There's a few guys that can't keep up with him, but he can't stop now and go back that far back. So he gives them this short answer to quiet them up, to give them something, right? He thought this is going to be enough. And he went back to continuing the class that he already prepared, and that he did such a good work on it. It was so beautiful, this class that he prepared. Listen, here's your answer for now, but we gotta keep going. It's pretty scary that something very similar just happened right now, but Zat Hashem.
I wasn't thinking that.
The truth is, I did that for the masses because I know that was that was a very fine point that could have gone on forever. And Zat Hashem. Reuven and his two friends, they're trying to understand this problem. They have a question. They're stuck. They're trying to understand what's actually being said, and they're stuck. They're not able to connect all the dots in the class. The rabbi is excited in his explanation and his charts and his examples and his stories that he came up with. And he's already at the end. He's coming to the conclusion where he's going to give the answer. But they're there sitting, lacking any vitality. They're not with him. They're not following. They don't understand what's being talked about. Because the most important fundamental ideas they're still lacking. They weren't clarified enough. This question, this deep question that they have that doesn't allow them to connect all the dots, has aroused inside of them nothing. It's not allowing any arousal inside of them. It's not allowing them, this lack of understanding is not allowing them to get excited, to be prepared for the amazing answer the rabbi is about to give at the end of his class. Because they're stuck at the first 3 minutes of the class where they realize there's things that you haven't said yet before you even go to hear for me to understand you. So why do they need an answer now? Why should they be excited for the last few minutes of the class where he's going to solve the whole puzzle that he's been building? They're stuck. They don't even get the puzzle. What's the answer going to do for them? They try to get the rabbi's attention again, but he didn't pay attention, or he didn't want it. He's found in his own world, and there they have no grasp on his house. They can't be where he's holding. He's in his own process. He made this shiur. There was enough of a constriction already to do it. I need to get through my process now. The three of you that don't understand, sorry, not paying attention to you right now. I'm in a process right now. I need to get to the end of the class. Very easy to understand what's going to happen from here on out. Or anybody that went to any form of school. Time is going on, and Reuven is bored. He wants to take advantage of his time. He's still alive. He's a human. I'm not getting anything out of the class, but I'm still here. I'm still alive. And I can't get up now. Reuven can't get up and leave the class. He has to sit there until the end of the class. So he wants to go learn something else by himself. He opens a book. He's doing his own thing. Not following your learning, so I'll do my own learning. Tried to sit quietly, wasn't successful. He has to receive food for his soul. He's there as a kid. He's there to receive. He's a sponge. He's growing. He wants to receive light, and there's not light being transmitted to him right now. And if the rabbi doesn't want to give it to him, so now he's going to turn a little bit, and he's going to try to receive it from a different place. And his friends also did what he did. And they started to have a little whispering conversation in the back of the class. All of a sudden, there's some flying paper planes with notes on them, right? Then came back another plane with an answer. העזות שנתעוררה שתלמידים אחדים נוהגו כרצונם ושלא בהכנעה. The brazenness that's come up inside of you, that you students are going to do what you want and you're not going to act in from a place of bitul, of giving in to your teacher. גרמה לכך שנפסד הרצון הכללי לקבל מהרב. That ruined the whole entire vibe now for anybody to receive from the rabbi. More and more students are getting pulled now into the whispering, into the note passing, into all the nonsense. The rabbi keeps telling them, hey guys, let's focus. Hey guys. How much is it going to help? How much are they really listening? Because what's a person meant to do? So, all of a sudden, everybody lost their focus. All of a sudden, everybody's out of it. The whole class is lost. From Reuven's one question, pulled two students, rabbi didn't give in, now everyone's gone. Lost the whole entire class. When he starts to leave the class now, The rabbi was like makpid on what happened, he was not okay with what was going on. He felt inside himself that he went back to what happened at the beginning of preparing the class, where he doesn't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go through this whole entire process. He was back at square one. I don't have the ability to take it down that low, to go down, to break myself, to go down to students such a low level. What did I do everything I did yesterday for? What did I prepare a class for? Just giving the class, that already is not an easy descent for a soul like that. Even more so dealing with misbehaving and all the disrespect that the students had towards him. Crazy. How does Reuven expect for him to go so far down to such basic ideas that are just the introductions of the introductions? You don't have to go to the rabbi to understand things like that. You could have asked your friends. These are the thoughts that are going on in his head. From here on out, there's this breakthrough in his heart of disconnect between him and the students. And also between them and him. He started to lose his consciousness, to lose his mind. And he said, from tomorrow, that's it. I'm not giving class anymore. Whatever is going to be is going to be. I'm not doing this. It's not the first time this has happened. I don't have the power to keep doing this. They didn't come to beg for the classes at all. They're not trying to ask for forgiveness. They're not trying to nullify the decree. So, they understand. They're not thirsty for my light at all. They don't want it. As much as I can see, they have more disrespect than they have thirst. So then why do I need them? What am I doing here? When the students heard this, that the rabbi is defining their behavior as disrespect, as azut, they didn't agree. Here and there we misbehave, we act up, but not because we're disrespectful. It's because we're weak, we're bored, boring, we don't get it. It's not because we want to disrespect you. What are we meant to do? That you're not ready to take it down to newer levels, to take it down to lower levels. When you throw down a rope into a deep pit to take up what's found down there, 50 feet underneath the ground, but you're not able to save anybody. You're not able to do it. Why? Because you're only willing to put down the rope 45 feet. What needs to be saved is 50 feet down. You only want to go down 45. It doesn't matter that they want to get out of there. If you're not willing to put down that extra 5 feet, you're not going to save who's down there. You're not going to be able to connect. And you say that you don't have the power to push another 5 feet. So then now what did you do? What have you been doing? What was the point of even trying to bring down a rope when you're not willing to do the full job? What are you doing? Why are you showing up to class if you're not willing to go that deep? The rabbi said that you also have to take a step towards me. I did 45, at least do another 5. Me, on my side, I would have stayed in the Beit Midrash by myself, learning all day long. I did that for many, many years before I was forced to give this class. You should appreciate me agreeing at all to come and give this class, to even be in your midst, and to try and put in effort. But the students did not ask for forgiveness. And they're not willing to forgive him for not wanting to go deeper. To not wanting to come off of his high mountain. One of them, who was closer to the rabbi, came to him and told him that the Rav himself also gets a benefit from clarifying these sugyot and making these classes. You bringing it down helps you. Umitalmidai yoter mikulam. Like the Chazal tells us in Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers. Who do I learn the most from? My students. I learn the most from my students. You're getting a benefit by doing this, Rabbi. Kama pamim haya mitbateh. After a few times after your successful classes, you would say that you got yourself so many chidushim, that you got to a deeper understanding of these ideas by way of giving them over to us. That you even felt that you have to go to the big rabbi that gave you the job, told you have to do it, and to say thank you to him, that you didn't stay stuck away in the synagogue learning by yourself. There you thought, right, that you were profiting by keeping your light to yourself. And you never knew how much good you were losing by staying in your own little world. You said it yourself, Rabbi. Not even that. This student that's close to the Rabbi continues and he says, for the Rav, you coming down to us is not needed. For you could exist by yourself. You know Torah, you have Torah, you know how to learn, you're doing it. You don't need this. Even without the class, you're still successful. You still have Torah, you're still doing your thing. All that's meant to come out of this is profit, nothing else. You only gain by giving to us. But the students, it's different. They don't know how to exist by themselves. They can't learn by themselves. They don't have their own light to keep them going. They're in a stage of their life where they have to receive. Their essence is to receive. And they have to receive from someone that's bigger than them. Someone that's bigger than them that can be able to build them, and they'll be able to be built from him. They sent us here to this town, to this yeshiva, in this mystical village here in the mountains of Tzfat. We're out of the world. We're not around our comfortable zones. We all came from different places. We're in this small village. Completely different reality. We don't have anything else going for us here. There's no bars and clubs and movie theaters, and there's no other way. We need to receive light. We need to receive light. We shouldn't be wasting our time. We shouldn't have time to waste. So therefore, we have to receive from the mouth of the Rav. We have to be receiving classes. We have to be receiving light. And again, like everything else in Kabbalah, and this is a Kabbalistic book, we have to get rid of the story and understand what is the meaning. We all have this relationship inside of us, of the rabbi and the students. We all have to receive, but we also have to give. We have to be telling our body what is the right thing to do, that's the rabbi, and our body has to be making an effort to listen, right? But also the rabbi has to be giving over messages, meaning the soul and the mind have to be giving over messages that are on the level of the body to understand, to keep it engaged and to talk in its language and to keep it attracted and to keep it connected so that it doesn't lose its consciousness, and to make sure that it's connected, to not negate the body, to not ignore the body, to bring down the lights to the body so that the students, aka the body, continue to show up to the class, to the prayers, to school with desire. We all have to improve this relationship. And when the rabbi takes away his influence from them, it's like he's taking away their life. They're left without life. Is it a wonder that they want to start to make noise now in class and to start to interrupt and throw notes and talk between themselves? Is there a wonder? Is there any question why they're doing it? You're taking away their life. They need to feel life. It's not from disrespect, chas v'shalom, God forbid. It's from emptiness, from a lack of light. And if the Rav has a soul and he wants to continue and save the situation by continuing to give over from his light to their souls, and by way of that to gain in your own learning, so then there's no other option than to understand us and to continue to constrict your light, constriction after constriction, that it should be understood by all. Their words had an effect, right? The students' words hit the heart of the Rav. The rabbi also remembered how much he actually did receive from giving over to the students. when there was days of weakness and he didn't have the ability, he didn't have the power, he didn't have the brain strength to get through these things by himself. And just the fact that he needed to give over to the students, right? He had to give over to them. He had to be connected to them. He had to prepare a class that caused him to now deal with the Torah and to learn it. Right? It brought him back into connection. It always kept him going. So even when he was weak and he didn't have the power, because of the students, it kept him going. He did gain from having this connection between light and vessel. There was a benefit for him. He does gain by being a rabbi of students. It's not just being by himself, a Talmid Chacham left alone with him getting all the light in the world. There is a benefit of having this relationship. And on those kind of days when he had a hard time, he would say in his heart, more than he gives to them, they give him. And as days passed, a few days, wanted to continue to give the classes, and they started in a different Masechet. They started in a different part of the Torah. The Shemit Chadshut, for the sake of renewal. We're starting a new page. We stopped giving classes. We're back. We're going to make peace now. Let's start something different. Let's start from a different place. He had a lot of time that he needed to put in to prepare, and it was 70 times harder, way harder than it was before. Because right now he has to come with a double, renewed light. He has to think thoughts about the finest details that he has to clarify without leaving out one of the steps. But simcha came through him. This joy came over him like cold water on a tired soul. Right? There's nothing like washing your face when you're out of it. You take a nice cold wash of face, cold dip in the mikveh, cold drip. It's the most refreshing thing in the world, right? What made him feel that way, like he was dipping in cold waters? That the students started to understand. He's seeing that they're paying attention, they're engaged, they're there, they're with him. Like water face to face. They even got used to putting a little bit more effort, trying to pay attention more, trying not to interrupt, trying to ask the right questions to understand deeper, not the basic ask from your friends the basic things, ask from the rabbi the deeper things. Make the effort to be with him, to understand what he's saying. Now it's been clarified that all of the days of detachment, all of the days of opposition and fighting were all for blessing. They were all a descent for an ascent. Right? We're going to stop here for today. V'ezrat Hashem. We would love to keep going. I know I want to keep going. I don't want to stop ever. But V'ezrat Hashem. Yeah,
all just going on with this story as a metaphor, or mentioned instead we go out from the story in the book?
In the book,
Yeah.
the story is going to go on for a few more pages, and then it goes into different. This book is like a bunch of different ma'amarim shonim, but all in it's a bunch of different discourses and different things. We're going to go into different stories about the soul being detached from its source and coming down into a baby and being given birth to. A way to understand Mashpia Mekabel in that sense. We're going to learn about what was Mashpia Mekabel in the Beit Mikdash. What are different relationships, man and woman, many different forms of this, but this story that we're in right now will end in a few, like probably 2 or 3 chabors. But it's definitely clarifying things and bringing us to a much deeper place. B'ezrat Hashem. Any other questions? Comments?
It really helps. Wow.
What did we take away so far a little bit? Let's talk it out a bit. Moshe Chaim, you want to share a bit?
I gotta make sure that my body's connected as I'm soaring off into the light. And it might be, let's do this in the forest. Well, my body's excited and happy to be there, and then bring it on. I'm ready to work. But if I just sit in the kollel, maybe I'm not ready yet. I need to acknowledge that where my body's at.
Took something from this, you can't just, I'm going to interrupt you. You can't just beat yourself over the head because you did Sahara, you didn't do this or whatever. It's more about having this approach that you have to also teach yourself or like be also like self, the body, the group, you have to also take care of that part too in order to have this right relationship, in order to connect to the source. People who they just jump in there, but like they ignore their bodily needs, let's say, they live in such poor conditions, they live, you don't see it so much in the spot, but you see, let's say, Masharim, people, I don't want to say groups or maybe just, you see like that, like a measure like that, like in Yerushalayim, I saw it more, in that area specifically, like where just people are all into, without the bit like their body is like, and then also sometimes too, like, when people, they're all without the shem, and their kids go off, why they're like, because something isn't filtered out even within them. It's not really. I also was asking myself this question too, like a few weeks ago. That if